Hi everyone, welcome back to my 6 p.m. talk, which I'm doing every Wednesday at 6 p.m. here in Bali, so it's probably a different time wherever you are. And the whole purpose of these talks is basically to share information about mental health, to raise awareness, and to talk about different subjects related to our well-being, as well as different diagnoses, treatments, solutions, general suggestions. But this only represents my own personal opinion and over my experience over the years as a clinical psychologist with 20 years of mental health experience, as well as those of my guests. So today we have like a special guest, my friend and colleague, Rosey Abla Hindi, who will be joining us in a moment. So hello everybody. Hi everyone. And just one more thing I'd like to say before Rosey comes in. All the information that is shared over here is, again, just for your general knowledge, general information, and it doesn't replace an actual treatment that you may need personally. So if you feel unwell for whatever reason, then it's important to reach out to a healthcare professional in your area. So today we'll be talking about a very interesting topic related to our attachments and the reason why we behave the way we do in our different interactions with each other. So let me see 1 second. Okay, I believe that Rosey is joining us. So I hope you're all doing well. Hello? Hello? Oh, 1 second. Hello?
Yes,
Hi,
yes,
Rosey.
I can hear you.
Hi, you can
Hi.
hear me. Hi, good.
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
yes.
I think I just had someone else join us instead by mistake, but yeah.
No
I'm still
problem at
getting
all.
used to this technology.
Yeah, me too. It's my first time, so bear with me. But now
Yeah,
I think we're good, right?
yeah. I think we're good now. Yeah, for sure. So
Okay, good.
yeah. So really nice to have you in this chat. I
Thank
think
you.
it's
Thank
always
you for
great to
the
have.
invitation.
It's always great to have like colleagues and even friends. Even if colleagues happen to be our friends, well, that's even better. But we often have like great
Yeah,
conversations together and conversations
yes.
on different topics related to mental health. And it's nice to, I think that for people to sometimes hear about them, hear about the things that
To
I
make them
suppose.
public.
Yeah, it becomes like a topic that's interesting, that
Yeah,
other people can actually maybe kind of maybe benefit from or find useful. So that's one of the reasons I decided to do these little talks every week, and
yeah.
yeah, just to kind of break the stigma around all this mental health topic, and get people to feel okay with actually being vulnerable and reaching out for help and getting the support.
Exactly. And feeling comfortable that I think with the COVID time, we are all facing this. The positive part of it is to be aware how much mental health is important for us to be aware of what's going on inside of us. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, what I mean, just for anyone who's actually joining us, even though that they probably know already from the info posts that have been going
Yeah.
on, it's important to know that Rosey is a clinical psychologist who's been working for many years in Beirut, Lebanon, and she's in a part of the world that is going through a lot of intense transitions. I don't know if we can call it like that, but there's a huge crisis going on there. I know that there's a crisis all around the world, but I think that you're also like in a part of the world that is quite demanding.
Yes. very much so. Yeah. I will not go there because it's very complicated situation.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that the COVID woke up lots of people on mental health, how important it is to be in touch with yourself, in touch with your emotions, and how much well-being is our source of strength. When we lose everything, the only thing we can count on is ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so today's topic is about the attachment styles and specifically about the avoidant
Yes.
attachment. Okay,
Yes, because
uh,
the subject is so broad that
yes,
it's good to kind of narrow it down and just focus on one
yes.
specific aspect. Yeah.
Yes, I will go into the first question that is essential.
Yeah.
When we talk about somebody who's avoiding,
Yes.
what is he avoiding? Because people think they are avoiding love or relationships. I
Yes.
don't believe so. They are avoiding the disappointment, the abandonment, the hurt that could come from lack of the love that they might receive. And
Hmm.
that is very important. Some
Yeah.
people, they think that, from jumping from relationship to relationship, it means that they are, safe and they will not be in an intimate relationship. So they avoid all the intimacy that a relationship could bring.
Yes.
So to describe the avoidant, he's not the person. It could be a woman or a man are not avoiding love because we can't avoid love. We are wired to love and to feel love. Okay,
Mm.
it's a feeling that is a basic need. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
The person is avoiding the hurt that could come from the lack of love.
Okay.
Why? Because we believe that in attachment is hardwired during our very basic early ages. Okay,
Yes.
and the attachment is a bond with a caregiver. Mostly, it's our mother. Okay, and it depends on the future attachment style is going to be depending on the quality of this relationship. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that the mother doesn't love her child. Not at all. But is she sensitive on the sounds, the cues, the language that the infant could give by the sounds that he could give? Okay. For example, I hear lots of mothers saying when their baby is crying that this is because he's asking for milk, or this is because he wants to sleep, or this is because so forth, so on, and
Yeah.
this is very important because it means that the mother is very sensitive on the non-verbal communication that the child is giving her, because at this age when the infant is not able to verbalize his needs, he will scream, he will cry, he will laugh, he will do sounds to attract the attention, and if this
Yes.
attention is not there, this is what will happen. Uh, there are two
For some
main.
people, it can happen like that,
Yes.
right?
I will. I
Yeah.
will. I will be. I will explain the. I will not go into too much details, but I will go
Yeah.
into
Of course.
some of to explain what are what are we talking about as the theory in itself, and then I will go into more detail
Sure.
concerning the avoidant attachment
Sure.
style.
Of course.
John Bowlby is the main psychiatrist who talked about the attachment style. He was the
Yes.
main he's the English psychiatrist who talked about the attachment style, and he talked about two clusters: the secure one and the insecure one. And in the
Yeah.
insecure one, we have three categories: the ambivalent, which is the anxious type of attachment, then the avoidant that we're talking about, dismissive, and then the more disorganized, disoriented. So we have three.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
talk about what makes a secure attachment. A secure attachment is, as we said at the beginning, from the caregiver, which mostly is the mother, who is very sensitive on the cues of her child. And it has nothing to do with love or not love at all. It's the sensitivity of being aware of the nonverbal communication of the child. If the mother gives appropriate answers to the screams and to the demands and needs of the child will tend to grow into an adult that is more confident, more secure, independent, but at the same time will want to be in relationships and long-term relationships and meaningful relationships. This is the most important part. And not to create and even if in his or her relationship they had problems, they will be resilient, they will seek help, they will be able to, most importantly, to describe what's going on inside of them and to talk about
Yes.
what bothered them in the relationship. For example, somebody said something and they found it disturbing or hurtful, they will talk about it. They will not use the clinginess, for example, like in the anxious attachment, or they will not use the avoidance that I will run away from this relationship because it's disturbing me, and nor will reinforce the trauma or the fearfulness that I have in the disoriented attachment. Okay, so
Yeah, because
this is
the disoriented, or also known as the disorganized
disorganized.
style,
Yes, yes,
which is actually not the topic of what we're focusing on today, but
not at
that
all. But I'm
style of
describing
attachment.
them. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I'm
it's like
describing them so that people will know.
it's a combination of yeah, it's just a combination of the
Yes.
two, right? Yeah.
It's a combination, but also it comes from a caregiver who was not really present. Like
Present. Yes, of course.
yes, not present. Could be abusive even. It's
Yeah.
related to child trauma, so it's a more
Yes.
complicated aspect. But let's go back
Yes.
to the avoidant. Okay, the
Yes.
avoidant style. We how can we know that we have that if we are like that or if our
Mm.
partner is like that? Usually,
Yeah.
the avoidant personality, the avoidant attachment style is a person who is a bit mysterious, a bit silent, who always have an aura of we don't know what's going on inside, and the other person will want to know more. So and whenever things get more serious or more deeper or more intense, they will be very scared and they will try to run away. This personality is also they will create a shell, like a wall or a thick skin,
A shield.
because they were
Shield.
hurt as infants. Okay, they were hurt as
Mm.
infants. It means that the caregiver was there, and suddenly, for X reasons, the caregiver was no more there. So, in order to protect themselves, it's a defense mechanism. They created a shell.
Mm.
Okay, but they are
Yeah.
very vulnerable behind this shell. This is what we need to explain because lots of
Mm.
women and men are in relationships with avoidant partners. They get hurt because they
Yes.
were let down by their caregiver, and so when they were defenseless, when they were infants, and then they grew this extra skin, and they vowed with themselves that they will not go back into being trapped in such an experience of being at a time that they didn't expect let down by their caregiver. So they don't
Mm.
trust anymore, And this is a mechanism that is very unconscious. It means that the
Yes,
avoidant
yeah, people are
partner
not
is
aware.
not
People are not
is
aware
not
of
even
of
aware
this
of this.
approach.
So when the
Yeah,
partner gives critics, and like they criticize them, or they tell them that you're doing this or that, you're neglecting me, you're not taking care of me, or all these things. This is where they become like a block of ice, you know what I mean? And the other partner will feel very disturbed, okay?
yes, yes,
Let's put it this way. The avoidant and the anxious are on the same spectrum, but the opposite sides,
yes. I mean, something
okay?
that I often see, I don't know if it's the case for you also, but in
Yeah,
my consultations when I have couples, some of them who've been together for maybe, you know, more than 20 years,
yeah.
even 25 years, happen to actually have complete two opposing attachment styles. So something
It's
that
very
I
common.
often see. So you will have like
They
an
attract each
anxious,
other,
because they complete each other, but they
of
still
course.
stay within the realm of these kind of insecure attachment styles. So it becomes kind
Exactly.
of really interesting work to do here, because they're both
Yes.
having issues in their communication, but yet the moment they begin to discover or to find out more about what attachment style they have, they begin to use that insight
And
and information.
yes,
Suddenly they understand a lot of things. They understand everything. They put
of
everything
course.
into perspective. They understand
And they become
why
more
everything is
tolerant.
happening like this. Yeah,
They
exactly.
become more tolerant, and even
Yes,
I believe that there's humor in what happens, because if I
yes,
know that the other person now is not ready to talk, and I want to cling on the other person, or the other way around,
yes,
it will be funny because I will be aware. And this is why I was happy to be able to talk to you about this here, because
yes,
we lack education on ourselves, you
yes,
know.
absolutely.
Lots of, I think the
Yes,
basic of relationships
yeah,
is about knowing which attachment style we have, because
correct.
sometimes we could be in a secure one, sometimes we fluctuate also. It's not a
Yes,
steady
yes,
one. It's not a steady
yes,
attachment that we will have all our lives. The good
yes,
news is that even if we had a bad experience with our caregiver at an early stage of our lives, it doesn't mean that growing up we're not going to have experiences and relationships with people with whom we are going to bloom and understand what's going on inside of us and heal. Because the more you know your story, and this is, I want to emphasize on that, the
yes,
more you know your story, the more you know what happened during your early ages of
yeah,
life, the
yeah,
more you are aware of how am I going to heal myself now as an adult. Because as an infant, I was defenseless. As an
yes,
adult, I'm responsible of my story. I'm
yes,
responsible of my narrative. Lots of I see this in my with my patients.
yeah,
Lots of my patients, women and men, are happy to be in a relationship, and suddenly they sabotage themselves with
mm,
"I'm not worth it." The other person is going to leave me. The other person is neglecting me, and they become even angry at the other partner, and they come and complain on what's going on. and
yes,
and we discover little by little that both avoidant and the anxious
anxious
attachment
type.
style,
Yeah,
both of them are scared to be in a relationship, and
yeah,
each one is going to put the blame on the other one indirectly. One in a hot tempered, and one in a cold tempered. One
yeah,
will run away, will become cold, will become, whenever there's something intimate, he will or she will run away. The other one is going to be clingy and intense and wanting lots of proximity.
yes,
So there's a
yes,
distance, and this proximity that sometimes is suffocating for
yeah,
the partner.
yes,
Okay,
of course,
uh,
of course.
and once, yeah, like you said it, and I think we will need to highlight it more. Once you know what is your attachment style, first of all, you will know that, okay, I'm becoming too clingy, or okay, I'm becoming too scared because the other partner is telling me intense things, okay? This awareness, this insight, like you said, is the first step of healing. Because if we are in denial of we are, if we are avoidant or anxious, we are going to repeat the same story over and over again. And yes, couples can stay in this very negative trap for so many years,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and they can and they feed on each other, but in a very nasty way, and
Yeah.
sometimes it could really blow into a
Yes.
very complicated, irreversible
Yeah.
hurt.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. I mean,
so
there's. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, 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 it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah, no, just about the subject of these attachments, that the relationship that we're in, that we're saying that the couple can be in it for years. I mean, they
Yes,
can be in that because of the type of relationships that they have, of course, because of their attachment styles. But the interesting thing is that you might actually present with a certain attachment style that could be that of an avoidant type within your intimate relationship. Okay, if that happens to be the case, if you happen to be in
yeah,
a long-term already a long-term relationship with someone. However, you might actually find yourself to be in a secured attachment style, maybe in your working place, maybe in your job,
yes,
maybe in your
yes,
career,
of
meaning that
course,
it's not
of
because
course.
you have one attachment style that it basically affects across the board in all
and
your fields of
and
life.
Yes, and also it's not with everybody. It means that sometimes you could have with friends a very secure attachment style, with a certain partner an avoidant attachment style,
Yes.
or
So
even
it's always
an anxious.
fluctuating.
Yes, yes. This is, you reminded me of one of the conferences that I've been to.
Yes.
The speaker was talking about John Bowlby and all these, and I was like
Yes.
asking that sometimes I can be in different attachment styles and I can fluctuate, you know.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is to be aware. And
Yes.
most of the time, the avoidant person has really will throw himself into a good job, lots of hobbies, very independent profile,
Yes.
because
Like
he
entrepreneurs,
since he
it
was,
could be like entrepreneurs sometimes
yes,
as a
yes,
kind of,
yes,
not
yes,
not to have a cliche profile. Of course, we don't want to label people like that, but very often we
yes,
can see them kind of in high status jobs, you know. And yes, I guess you were talking about, the those who are not in an established relationship and who keep kind of their partners at arm's length, who are very kind of worried about like intimacy or anything like that, can tend to be kind of very much it's very much into just themselves. So they could sometimes very much move into something, again, not to give like a label like that, but sometimes we can see them, people who are maybe have more like narcissistic tendencies, maybe as
yes,
well, to
yes.
kind of
It
come
can look
together with
like
that
that.
avoidance style. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it can look like that, but in fact, the hurt is there. It means that when
That's the
this,
most important thing you're saying. The hurt
exactly,
is there.
exactly,
It's the
the hurt,
hurt
it
that we're not
it means
conscious
they
of,
are
that we're not
aware.
aware of. Yeah.
It means they are aware that they are in pain. Okay, and
Uh-huh.
they avoid, not because they are indifferent, because they are in pain of
Mm.
what's going to happen if I let go my boundaries, or I let go my shell, or I let go
Yes.
this mask that I put of coldness. What will happen to me? I will be vulnerable in front of the other person, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
the thing that they cannot tolerate is this vulnerability. The
Vulnerability.
closeness,
Yes.
yes,
Which has
yes.
to do with
So,
closeness. They're uncomfortable with it.
of course,
Yes.
intimacy, closeness, and I'm not talking only about sexuality. I'm talking about a good conversation,
Yes.
emotions,
Yes.
talking about what's going on inside of you without feeling judged. Because one of the things that happens with an avoidant partner also is they judge themselves and the others a lot, and
Yeah.
and they are trapped with this because they are miserable. After all,
Mm.
the avoidant and the anxious are miserable in their relationships, not only with other people but with themselves. And the narratives that they have about themselves is always negative. For
Mm.
example, an anxious person, anxious style of attachment,
Yes.
the person will ask herself or himself, does the other partner love me? Am I up to his standards or her standards? You know what I mean? These
Yes.
questions
Absolutely.
are
Yeah.
will come of insecurity. The other
Yeah.
one will say, am I able to let go of my defenses and trust other person? Because it's an issue of
Yes.
trust.
It's
You
difficult
know
for
what I
them to
mean?
trust. Exactly. Then they
Yes,
probably will not even question it. They probably will not
yes,
even have
yes,
the discussion about it because it's too much to discuss
yes.
anyway. So
But
they're
this is the
generally
difference.
not very good
Yes,
generally kind of not very good communicators because they're
yes,
not very
very
much
true.
emotionally kind of
In tune
like
with themselves.
informed. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes, yes, yes. And
So
it's very common. It's very common. We see it very often. And in
yes,
fact, most of people, if not everybody, comes to therapy. This is what we see. Are in pain, and
yes,
they think that they. And one of the things I want to add is there's this belief that if I'm in pain because of the neglect that I feel from the other partner, it means that the other person should change, which is a very big, belief that is so wrong that we got used to. The one who is in pain is the one who is responsible of his own change, and he needs or she needs to be aware of why am I feeling that the other person, if they have their own activity, it means that they are neglecting me, it means that I'm not worthy, and all this and so on. Okay,
yeah.
so they need to be aware that they are hurt because of not the act of the other person, but what I do in my head of what the person is acting. You understand? I don't know if it's
Yes,
clear.
yes, yes, of course. I
This
mean,
is very delicate. This is very delicate.
mm,
The narrative that I have of how I perceive, because a secure person with an attachment style that is secure will not doubt what's going on inside of him. He will ask the other partner, when you do this, I feel that I'm loving this. Uh, uh, what about you? And they will engage in a constructive conversation and communication, and not in an accusing the other person of our
accusatory
distress.
kind of way. Yes, of course.
Yes,
That's for
of our distress.
those are the people who are more in the who have more secure attachments. Which
Yes,
actually,
yes,
talking
yes,
about this is like a lot of people maybe might think they might relate to the avoidant and dismissive style. They
of
say,
course.
"Oh my God, we're listening to this right now, this conversation, and I kind of relate to
This is typically
this
me.
avoidant attachment. My God, what does
Yes,
that mean now? What am I going to do?" I mean, look, we don't want to sound like scary or anything like that, but the thing to remember is that any kind of attachment that you have, let's say on the insecure attachment styles, can be worked on at any given moment in your life. It just takes
which
like
is
a
which is
moment of
the good
awareness
news
and
about it
and a
all.
decision. Exactly. And
Yes,
then doing
yes,
so, yes, you doing so with the help of a therapist,
yes,
for sure. But I guess sometimes it's difficult nowadays for people to go see therapists systematically on like a weekly basis and things like that. So people are looking for all kinds of methods to kind of get that process, which actually perhaps is one of the good things. Is like we're living in a time now where there's so much information out there that's available that people can
yes,
begin to be taught to heal themselves. And it's through, I think, through
exactly.
conversations like what we're having now that a person can begin to say, oh, I relate to this. You don't have to be scared about relating to this. It's actually, or it's actually a good thing that if you relate to this and this can become like a breakthrough moment. A breakthrough
Yes,
means it's like, oh,
yes,
like a aha kind of moment. Okay, where can I
yes,
go from there? Because anyone can develop a secure attachment. Anyone can actually improve from, let's say, being emotionally uncomfortable right, and emotionally scared, to begin to kind of understand yourself better, to care for yourself better, as opposed to repeat maybe the patterns
Yeah.
of hurts that you've had when you were a little child.
Yes.
And
I will.
I think I think
Yeah.
one more thing on this on this side, Rosie, is that actually people who have more of a secure attachment style, it doesn't mean that they don't have like moments
Insecurity.
of dependencies,
Of
or
course, they're not.
exactly, or anxiety. It's basically, there's
It's
three
the way they
dimensions.
deal with it that is different.
Yes,
It's
it's
the way they
the
deal
way we
with their
deal with it.
anxiety that is different.
Exactly. So it's like, how much closeness do I have or can I bear? How much dependency am I willing to allow? And how
Yes. How
much
much
anxiety can
vulnerability?
I actually experience
Yes.
and be okay in expressing and in dealing?
Yes. How
Yeah.
can I expose my vulnerability to my partner or to other people? You know what I mean? And I
Yes.
think this is a strength and not a weakness. And I think
Yes.
for the people who are listening to us,
Yes.
whenever there is, because we need to be clear about one point, that the avoidant attachment style and the anxious attachment style, even if they have different ways to cope with their hurt, they are both hurt, they are both anxious, they both need help.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
They
But
both yearn for love, sense of
exactly. And
acceptance.
we all do. All the people that are now listening to us, we are made of love. We are, so one thing I will always rely on, that um, the avoidant and the anxious lost something in the
along
in their life, and
along the
it
way.
means, yes, along the way, it means that they had it, which is great. And I always, with my patients, I always rely on this part. If I am scared to lose something, it means that I had it once, and I need to start healing myself by telling myself that it's not because I did something that I lost it. It's because the other person, which is the caregiver, was not able to give it to me, not because I have something wrong in me, but because something happened. A death of somebody, a divorce, a situation that is exterior of me. And that
Yes,
is
not
the
in our
point,
control.
exactly. And that is the point where, this is why in psychoanalysis we go back to early experiences. I go back always to a good experience. Because if a child didn't receive this love, he will not even know that he lost something. So he will never be able to avoid it. How can we avoid something that we don't know? We avoid something that we know. You understand what I
Yes,
mean? So
yes, of
this is
course.
a turning point in therapy. When first I will give some like answers or solutions. First of
Yes,
all, be aware that you are in pain and that there are ways of healing, and to be responsible of what's going on inside of you and of your narrative, what you tell yourself about yourself. Okay. Third, to revisit your own story, to revisit what happened, and to be able to be aware of the, the act of love that happened, and to rely on that. Okay. Fourth, to be your own caregiver, and to heal at this point by giving yourself this love and this sweetness and softness. I always use this word, sweetness
mm,
and softness, in your inner monologue. Because after all, what is therapy? Therapy is about creating a different inner voice than the one that is always judgmental and sabotaging your inner world. Because after all, you live with this voice, and this voice, if it's a friendly one, containing one,
Yes.
with
Yeah.
the right boundaries,
Yes.
you will be self-sufficient. So you will not be the needy of the other person, but you will want to be with another person, and that is the whole difference. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
so I
Nor
like
you
the
will
word
be,
that you used about sweetness. It's about getting
yes,
to know that inner voice of sweetness so that you can actually bring that out, which is not an easy thing to do. But I like the term that you used, the sweetness. You know, just to
yes,
it's become more self-caring, get to know yourself in
yes.
a different way. I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
uh,
It's the
I
same. It's the
yeah,
same as when you take care of your hygiene. You know what I mean?
yes,
You take care of yourself. It's the same
yeah,
thing. We need to take care of our thoughts because we are made
yes,
of these thoughts,
yes,
and these
yes,
thoughts
yes,
become patterns, and
yes,
we will confuse ourselves between our thoughts and reality and what's going on. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
for sure.
sometimes we will sabotage ourselves by creating a familiar pattern of trauma or of disappointment or of abandonment so that we make ourselves feel that I was right. You know what I mean? For
Correct.
example, if I
It's
judge
like you're
myself that
repeating.
I'm,
Yeah, go ahead. Give the example because that's a very important point. The point is
yes,
we just go
for,
back to what
I'll
we're
give an
familiar.
example.
We go back to what we're familiar with, without realizing
Yes,
it. Even if it's hurtful,
and
we just
sometimes
keep
this,
repeating the same thing. So yeah,
and
go ahead.
that
Give an
sometimes,
example.
yes, sometimes this familiarity is something not good for us. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Okay, so
it's not.
if in my head I believe that the other partner is not going to love me because I'm not worthy of love, okay, I'm going to be hyper vigilant in my attention whenever the other person is not giving me this type of love that I believe is worthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I will sabotage myself with not receiving the good, but receiving all the bad cues. Because any partner cannot be loving and great with the other one all the time and without sometimes the other partner is tired if he wants all ears maybe the other person is not ready for that so he will directly read it as a rejection so it will be
Yes.
the familiarity that we have. So it will be feeding more into, yes, this is, I was sure I will be rejected or I will be abandoned. So many times when the relationship is good, I see my patients sabotaging themselves with inner monologue that is very judgmental and we talk about it a lot. I'm sure you
Yeah.
have the same
Yeah.
uh,
Of
uh,
course. Of course. Of
pattern.
course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
what's
all of
interesting is
this
that
is to say that we have solutions, and
yes, of
and
course.
it's
Yeah.
great. It's a big freedom for oneself to be able to uh, to not diagnose, but to know which style you are. Because I'm sure all the people who are now listening to us, they will know which style they are. If they are
Yeah.
the secure one or the insecure and avoidant and anxious one.
Yes.
Which one of both?
Yes, yes. I mean, even though we've been focusing a little bit more on like on avoidance style, but definitely it's like if
We
I can
cannot talk
relate to
about
like
avoidant
my
only.
anxious,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
we can definitely be leaving that for like even another time, but
Yes,
because it's nice to have these conversations. I think that there's definitely people will be often asked, okay, what can I do now? Or we have a question here from one of our listeners who is saying how to
yes,
refresh the relationship between the husband. I mean,
yes.
I guess that's a question. Is okay. I mean, it's a big question, but I believe that the knowing about each other's attachment style is already a first step.
The first step.
Uh,
First step.
it's a first step so that you can better understand who you're actually with in terms of their
Of course.
attachment style, why they
And
behave
who
the way
are you?
why they
And
think the
who
way
are you?
they think,
And who are
and then in
you
order
in
to
this
refresh it,
relationship?
in order to refresh it, there needs to be some kind of let's say, participation. You know, it takes two to create this
kind of.
momentum. So it can't just be one-sided. So how to refresh it? I mean, we would have to know a little bit more about that person, or about you, you know, to be the
I
person
will
who asked the
ask, when
question,
was the
right?
last time that this person, when was the last time he or she, I don't know if it's a woman or a man, had a real conversation with his or her partner? When was the last time that was a real conversation about what's going on inside of them, without accusing, without going into you did that or you did this, or I don't know. It's not about accusing the other person, but expressing to the other person
Yes,
what's
it's
going
about
on inside of
communicating.
them.
Exactly. It's
Yes,
communicating without judging, because
yes,
we're quick at judging. Again, because out of fears, right? It's all
yes,
fears, all our hurts coming up. And I
yes,
guess this is the hardest thing, but this is really the most important, and yet growth, sign of growth, is the ability to sit down with this other human being that's in front of
yes,
you, uh, to
yes,
look as a human being and to have an open conversation, to be clear about, you
yes.
know, and a deep
It needs
conversation. So
courage.
how
It
are you
needs lots
feeling?
of courage. Yeah,
Yeah.
it needs lots of courage to face your mirror, and not only to throw all our insecurities onto the other person and to blame
Yeah,
the
which
other
is the
person
first
for
thing,
our
that
misery.
a lot of us will do, right? Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
want to add one thing. Somebody talked about toxic relationship. I feel that it's like a new trend to talk
Mm.
about toxic relationship.
Yes.
Just one word about it.
Yes.
Uh, I will ask the person, why are you in such a relationship from the beginning? Because from the beginning, there was no boundaries. From the beginning, there was cues and signs of something, and it became toxic because somebody did. And when we say toxic, it means that the other person is to blame.
Yes.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
I believe that working on yourself is about facing where you are in life too. For example, somebody who believes that the other person should cater for themselves will be completely in the wrong. The other person will not be able to give you enough love, value, and all these important things unless you give them to yourself. Value, respect, love, self-care. These are the basic of uh, being giving these to yourself in order to be able to be with the other person as a complete individual, and not to be or needy or in a dependent relationship with the other person, meaning that the other person should fill these gaps in us. You know what I mean? And we tend to
Yes.
have this because all songs, all fiction, movies, all of them, they relate this. You know what I mean? They always talk about this because one last thing about long-lasting, the long relationships. Sometimes people they need to spice it up by these kind of like toxic behavior, like doing things outside of the relationship or not being present or whatever it is. But I will always say that if two people love themselves and will give to this relationship all what they know about care, love, respect, and value, the relationship will never be boring or redundant. You know, there will
Mm.
always be a space for something new, because the growth is going to be continuous in each other. You know, and it will be not something that you will not only rely on the other person. You will have self growth and relationship growth at the same time. Imagine a little pot when there's a flower that you planted. At the beginning, it's very fragile, but later on, it
Yes.
grows and it
The
becomes
seed.
it gives
The seed
more,
turns
you
into
know?
a flower if you nurture it.
Exactly,
Of
exactly.
course.
And this
Yeah.
is how I see a healthy relationship.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I mean, this is again, this is like a huge topic in itself, and we can be going on for a very long time with this. But we were just focusing on the avoidance style attachments, and if
Yes,
people out there are really feeling like it's difficult for them to open up, it's difficult for them to talk about their emotions, that they don't necessarily want to be committing, or that they find it difficult to do all that, then there's definitely a way around this. Not because you have an avoidant attachment that you cannot actually change this, but the change begins with yourself, with your desire to see that
exactly.
this is actually affecting me in a way, and I'd like to change that. And you can get the help. There's many therapists out there. There's many ways. You don't actually have to see a therapist. You can just get the right information for it. Even seeing therapists online is quite effective. You have different styles of therapists, some who have psychodynamic approach. You have others who have more of a cognitive behavioral approach, more of a here and now approach. It's less long, but it's still as effective. I mean, there's different styles. Just one thing, just before we leave, because we're going to have to stop for today, is I wrote down a few questions that can actually be kind of like an indirect reflective homework for people that who are out there who would like to maybe challenge what they're going through. Is how comfortable am I to being vulnerable? Okay, it's a question you ask yourself. It's, you don't have to answer anybody. You just keep it.
Yeah.
How
Yes, yes.
comfortable am I to be vulnerable? And
And to be in touch with my emotions.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
To rely on you know, how fearful no, or how comfortable am I to, let's say, rely on others? Does this scare me? You know, you can ask this kind of question. And an exercise you could do, for example, is if typically you have very light type of conversations whenever you call someone, maybe you can take a decision. Maybe even Rosey mentioned that
Step
in
forward.
a different way. Maybe to make a decision to have a conversation with someone, like make it realistic. You can call on the
That is more
phone
meaningful.
anybody and decide, instead of talking about the weather or about your basketball match, decide to have a deeply meaningful conversation about how you felt about something. Make it easy and realistic just for yourself. That could already be a step to begin to break the cycle of that avoidant, self-preserving, you know, mechanism. So, and a step in the right direction. So Rosey, it was wonderful to have you today. I know you have something to say again.
One thing, one last thing, one last thing. These are the things that we can do individually, but I hope that collectively we will be able to help out. And I hope that later on, school will introduce a program of well-being so that all of these are integrated in our growth and in our part of our lives, you know.
Yes.
That's my little dream.
That is it's a beautiful dream, and I definitely like I'm with you on that one for sure. I mean, we all deserve to be better connected and to live more harmoniously, not more harmoniously together, more harmoniously within ourselves, in order to be more harmonious with each other. So listen, thanks again, Rosey. It was amazing.
Thank
and
you so much, everyone.
Get in touch with anybody out there who wants to get in touch with Rosey or do on some online work. You can just connect with her directly through the, you know.
I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Exactly.
I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, fantastic. So so listen. So we've reached the end of today's 6 p.m. talk, and thanks again, Rosey, for this valuable insights, and I hope it was really useful and helpful for everybody. These talks are all about just raising awareness, giving a glimpse into, you know, the world of therapists and how psychologists, you know, talk between themselves even in these conversations. And if you have any questions, anything, don't hesitate. Just send the questions, and then we'll answer them as we can. Thank you for listening, sharing, and following. So we'll see you next week.
And connect.
Yes, we'll see you next week. Stay safe, everybody, and be well.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Rosey. See you.
Bye.
Take care.
Merci.
Bye, dear.
Bye.
Bye, dear. Bye.